Alright, YouTube, David Harry here. Now, I've just done a video where I was talking about the GPU performance on the new upcoming M1 Max MacBook Pro and basically going into the graphs that Apple used during their presentation for the launch, where it was basically comparing that new GPU architecture, or basically the new GPU core count more precisely, against an RTX 3080 mobile graphics chip. Now, during that video within the comments, a number of people had started talking about the ability to do some serious gaming with these new upcoming MacBook Pros. So what I'm going to do in this video is just address something as quickly as I can here. Now, just to be dead clear, this video is not going to have any cutaways. It's just going to be me monologuing and stuff like that, because this message is really dead simple and it can be done really quickly. The bottom line here is, regardless of how powerful these new Macs are going to be with their GPUs, they are just not going to be great options for any type of serious gaming. Now, by serious gaming, I mean AAA gaming and stuff like that. So the kind of things you're going to be used to doing on a Windows-based x86 PC with something like an NVIDIA or an AMD graphics card, or even something like, say, an Xbox Series X or PS5, that level of serious gaming and graphics will not be something that you will be doing, at least in the short term, with these new Macs, right? Now, I'm sorry to have to jump straight in and just get that out the way, but really there's no way, or there's no reason to try and softball this in, because a lot of people may be thinking that these are going to be great gaming options, these laptops. Now, the thing is, they are going to be powerful with regard to their graphics abilities and stuff. However, the problem is not the hardware. The problem is the platform itself. So traditionally, Macs have just not been ever good options for high-end serious gaming. And once again, not because the Macs themselves are not really good for doing it, because the hardware, especially with the Pros and stuff, when you start adding in extra GPUs and the likes, they're definitely capable of doing these things. However, it's the support for gaming on the platform. So macOS just basically has never been something that the serious game developers, well, sorry, I want to say serious, I mean the high-end game developers, they've never really developed for that platform. Now, the thing is, even if you just go back a short time to when it was all on x86 with Intel CPUs and GPUs by AMD and stuff like that, as far as the entire Mac ecosphere was concerned, even then it was very tricky to get anything to work properly to a level that people would be happy with as far as high-end gaming was concerned. Once again, nothing to do with the Mac and its hardware. It was just basically lack of support. Now, the thing is, that's actually being compounded and becomes really bad now. And that's because we are now using ARM architecture, and also macOS has changed drastically as well. So since moving to ARM with M1, and don't forget, M1 Max and M1 Pro are basically exactly the same as M1, with just further counts, to do with, say, the high-end cores for the CPU, and obviously a fair bit of boosting with the GPU cores. But essentially, they're all exactly the same. They're based on the exact same architecture, and also it is all ARM as well. So this is where the big problem comes into play. There are no real options for doing serious gaming on any of these CPU type machines. That is really the bottom line. So the take from this video is what I've just said. No one will be playing serious high-end gaming with these machines. However, there are ways around this, say emulating stuff through virtual machines and stuff like that. So you can obviously run parallels and then say load in Windows. But the problem with that is you're going to be loading Windows 11 ARM, and then what's going to be happening, that's going to be getting virtualized on the system. Then on top of that, Windows is going to have to then self-emulate within itself x86 programs such as the games to be playing within the ARM architecture for Windows or within inside the OS, which I've just said, is then being virtualized by the Mac. Now, you can do this right now on, say, the Mac M1s. However, it is not the best experience for gameplay. You're going to have the odd out outlier game which will definitely like give you a good experience, but across the board it is not a good idea. Plus there's a lot of like, you know, holes and hoops you've got to jump into and jump through in order to get some of this stuff working. Quite often you've got to start messing around with like, you know, like registries and stuff like that to make things work. You then have to start patching stuff to make things work. It basically is not a straightforward, simple process, and also the end result to it isn't really the best either. So right now, realistically, the only way you're going to be playing many things would be to go down that route. And I have to say, for the vast majority of people, it's not what they want to do. Most people want to simply download a game and start playing. Now, you can do that on any Mac right now as well, or the M1s. However, the types of games we're talking about are not really high-level AAA games. You can do it, but it's not necessary to go to the extent of like an M1 Max or Pro to like kind of do that kind of gaming and stuff. So, I mean, putting it right down to simple levels, and I don't want to sound like I'm slagging it off, but Apple Arcade really isn't a serious gaming platform. I use it myself on like the likes of my iPads and stuff like that because it's fun, but it is not serious gaming. There are some nice games on there, there's the odd good one, but it's not serious high-end gaming by any stretch. So yes, you can game on any of these Macs, but the game types that you're like going to be able to use, not really that good, to be honest. And they're most certainly not going to be like, you know, Call of Duty Vanguard and stuff like that, or any like Genshin Impacts, like, you know, the desktop variants playing properly and things like that. Like I say, you can get into some of these things. They're doing it through emulation and virtualization. However, it is not for most people. Most people just are not prepared to go through the messing around that you have to go through to make these things work properly. And like I've already said, even if you get it working, the performance isn't what you probably want to see either. So like I say, bottom line here is, unfortunately, these new Macs are going to be mega powerful, and I truly believe that they're going to be, but the platform itself isn't conducive to like high-end games. And that's only because, you know, the main developers just won't look at Apple and the Mac platform for development because the actual take up for gameplay on the platform is so tiny. And unfortunately as well, you know, as much as what if you're into Apple, for instance, and Macs, to you they're the best things in the world, and that's cool. But the problem is, globally, you know, Windows x86 PCs massively outstrip the sales of like your average Mac computer. And, you know, if you're a games developer, you're going to be developing for the platform that's got the most people on it. So that's another reason why we've never really seen, you know, the Mac platform being used for serious high-end gaming. Anyway, you know, I think that'll probably do it for this video. There's a lot of other things that I could go into in a bit more detail to do with like certain technologies. And also one of the other things as well, and this actually also comes into play when you're doing virtualization or emulation and stuff, is also the anti-cheat softwares and things like that. So there's a lot of issues with engaging that within the Mac environment or the macOS environment, whether that be like, you know, running native, or whether that actually be going through virtualization or emulation. And then on top of that as well, you know, there's the possibilities that things to do with Steam might come up, but there's other issues in there as well. There's a lot of like well documented kind of things going on with that around YouTube. So maybe do some searches for Steam on macOS or Steam on Mac M1 and get an idea of what may or may not be coming up with things like that. But like I say, bottom line here, and I don't want to keep dragging this out because I'll just be rehashing the same message, and that simply is, these new Macs are just not going to be great options for like serious gaming. However, and like I've said, I will be doing it. I'll be trying it out at least, just to see how far, you know, these things can be pushed. But the way I'm going to try doing this is to see what are going to be the simplest routes into this, because I've done a ton of stuff in the past on PC to do with, say, emulating Android or running Android native through Android x86 and stuff like that. And as much as certain things can be done, the vast majority of people, to be honest, they don't want to be messing around, you know, messing with software and having to like jump through too many hoops in order to just do something simple like gameplay. And that is another thing which is like, you know, you have to say is a bottom line here. It's all well and good seeing people on YouTube, you know, playing, say, emulated gameplay on Macs and stuff like that. But when you actually truly get to the bottom of it and you see exactly how difficult the process is, the vast majority of your day-to-day users simply have no interest in going to that degree for very little in return after doing all that hard work to get something to work. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. If anyone's interested, let me know in the comments and I can do videos with a bit more detail about specific technologies and why they don't really work on Mac and stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, once again, I'm sorry to have hard-balled this one in and just gone straight to the jugular on it, but yeah, you know what? If you're thinking about getting one of these new Macs specifically for gaming, don't do it. You will be hugely disappointed. And even for the cheapest one of these new Macs, you could just as easily buy a very well-spec'd Windows x86 PC with a decent RTX or maybe an AMD GPU in it as well. And that would serve you as a way better platform for gaming. I'm not saying you switch to Windows if you're a Mac person. Don't switch to Windows for your day-to-day stuff. But if you're serious about gaming, it's going to have to be Windows as far as PCs are concerned, for now at least. Okay, I'll shut up because I will just start rabbiting on about other things to do with metal and stuff like that, which other people probably will want to bring up in the comments. I do know all about what, you know, the wheres and what fors for these things, but unfortunately this video won't run its course as a short one if I carry on rabbiting on like a big mad person. Anyways, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.